Russia is at a critical point in the Ukraine war. After a prolonged offensive since last July to capture Pokrovsk, Russian forces are showing signs of fatigue from months of continuous advance. Additionally, as we saw in the previous video about Ukraine, an improvement in Ukrainian defense had created a situation close to a stalemate on the Pokrovsk front. One of the factors that made the Russians stop attacking was the enormous number of casualties in relation to the progress achieved. At 2024, Russians were advancing around 730 square kilometers each month. But by March, their progress only 130 square kilometers. Since then, a relative calm had been observed on the front, and it seemed that the negotiation process, at the very least, was calming things down a bit. However, Russia has done its homework and has taken advantage of this month and a half of calm to recruit soldiers at home. If you want to know where the next Russian offensive will be, how many soldiers will participate in it, and why a failure in this operation would affect the offensives next year and force a peace more to Ukraine's liking, stay in this video because in a few moments I'm going to tell you. If you're interested in the Ukraine war and armed conflicts, like and subscribe for more content. Let's begin. Some have so much and others so little. Ukraine has been fighting against the Russians in the Donetsk Oblast since July of last year. This is the war's most important front, moving the most soldiers, but also the best fortified in Kiev. The recruits arrive with just enough training and quickly spend long days at the front, creating two types: those who are quickly casualties and those who survive and become experienced soldiers. This situation evidently results into many casualties for them. In any case, like Russia, they have taken the opportunity to catch their breath. Since March, and despite resisting lowering the recruitment age from 25 to 18, they have managed to maintain a steady flow of between 10,000 and 12,000 recruits per month. The Russians, for their part, despite suffering heavy losses at the beginning of the year, have managed to maintain an average of 30,000 recruits per month, but even so, for the Kremlin, it is not enough. To live or die in spring. The Russian Federation has been immersed in a resource race since April 1st to attract, train, and send more men to the front than ever before. Last year around this time, they recruited 150,000 soldiers. This year the goal is to reach at least 160,000. While it is a slight increase, it clearly demonstrates the Russian attitude of increasing pressure on all fronts in Ukraine. The problem is that Moscow has been suffering heavy losses for many months. Some independent sources from the Federation estimate that about 105,000 Russians have already died in this war. British intelligence estimates Russian casualties in 2025 exceed 150,000, averaging 1,000 per day. These figures have already set a precedent, and the new contingent of recruits will likely fight in the bloodiest year for the Russians so far in the war. The Revenge of Kursk. In mid-April, the center of Sumy, a Ukrainian city just 30 kilometers from the border with Russia, was hit by two missiles that killed 34 civilians and injured more than 100. Everything seems to indicate that the new Russian offensive will not target the scorched ruins of Donetsk or the marshes of Zaporizhia. For the moment, and according to the record of attacks on cities, it seems that the new target of the Russian spring offensive for this 2025 will be the cities of Sumy and Kharkiv. The Russians, as we already explained in the video of the Ukrainian defeat at Kursk, took some small positions in the Sumy Oblast. This territory is the one immediately south of the Kursk Oblast and is the region where the Russians intend to create a buffer to avoid more surprises like the one in August of last year. Additionally, Ukraine recently attempted a small incursion in Belgorod, but it was quickly repelled again. So the Russian defense lines north of Ukraine are quite alert and will not receive any more surprises. On their part, in the Kharkiv Oblast, Ukrainian forces have been fighting in Bykhansk since June 24 to prevent a Russian advance towards the south of Lyablast. However, the small buffer that Russia has there greatly limits the ability to organize large operations. Zelensky estimates over 67,000 Russian soldiers at the Sunni border. Putin's decision is logical, especially with the southern fighting stalled. In the east, it is a true war of attrition since the beginning of the war, and the only front where pressure is truly lacking is in the north. Sumy, moreover, is a great region for propaganda purposes to attempt a victory and strike back at the blow the Russians received in August. From the Russian viewpoint, the southern neighbors might face a surprise attack. Currently, 3 scenarios are being considered. In the first scenario, Ukraine defends the region successfully, boosting confidence, improving its negotiation position, and encouraging European partners to keep supporting the war. In the second scenario, Russia successfully carries out the attack with minimal casualties. For the first time since the war began, large-scale operations in open fields become possible again, shifting focus from a war of attrition to advancing towards peace, seeing itself as superior. In the third scenario, Russia succeeds in the offensive, but with high human costs, halting further advance, like Pokrovsk, where casualties caused a stalemate. Russia's negotiation position would improve, but advancing wouldn't be a priority, giving Ukraine some breathing room. What is certain is that it's a topic that will give us much to discuss, as it is expected to be an operation lasting 6 to 9 months. Do you think Ukraine will withstand the offensive? Or do you think Russia can deliver a decisive blow in this war? I would love to read your opinion in the comments, and I would appreciate it if you liked the video to leave a like and subscribe to be able to consume more content in the future. Of course, as always, you have the sources of all this content in the description. I'm Alvaro from Historia, and see you next time.